Hi, Grayton. I hope you are doing well. Our topic is comparison of modifiers on page 264. Modifiers are adjectives or adverbs. Comparison means comparing between two things or two people using adjectives and adverbs. Look at the following examples. One is nearly as tall as I. Robert is taller than I. No other land animal can run as fast as Chia. So when you compare between two people, two animals, two things, you can use adjectives or adverbs. And you have to know that there are some specific rules you have to follow when you use comparison structures. Now, there are three degrees of comparison: positive, comparative, and superlative. When I say positive adjectives are using adjectives and adverbs without adding any suffixes to them. For example, you have the adjective here, low. When I say, my voice is low. Fearful. This child is fearful, or her large eyes were fearful. So here in positive adjectives, or in this case, you can use the adjectives or adverbs without addings. Look at comparative. When I say comparative means comparing between two things or two people or two animals using er or more. But using er and more depends on the syllables of adjectives. I'll explain that later on. Look at lower here. My voice is lower than yours. This child looks more fearful than your sister. So you have to use er or more when you want to compare between two. Let's move to the third degree here. Superlative. Superlative means comparing more than two people or more than two things. For example, when you want to use superlative structure, you can use esc or most. And the same rule you have to use here, that using esc or most depends on the number of syllables and adjectives. Now, lowest. For example, my voice is the lowest. This child is the most fearful. Okay, so these are the three degrees of comparison. Now, let's move to the next page, 265. Here, look at the title on the top of the page here, regular comparison. Now, this page is describing the rules you can use to make regular comparison here. Sorry, because the page is not clear. Okay, now the first rule. You can look at these rules and you can follow these rules to make regular comparison. Okay, now I think that you have no difficulty in using positive adjectives, but let's start with the first structure, comparative structure. Again, comparative structure means comparing two things or two people or two animals using er or using more. How? Let's start with er. You can add er to adjectives if the adjectives contain one syllable or two syllables. How? Look at the word thin, for example. How many syllables are in the word thin? One. Safe, one. Dry, one. Fast, one. Soon, one. Lovely, two. Lovely. Tricky, tricky, two syllables. So if you want to compare between two and the adjective contains one syllable or two syllables, you can add er. Okay, for example, this cat looks thinner than mine. Okay, my friend Noor is lovelier than your friend. So this is the first rule of using comparative structure. Now let's move to the second rule of using comparative structure. Now, for example here, if the adjective contains three syllables or more, you have to use more. For example, more awkward, more firmly, more rapid. Okay? So when you want to compare between two people, two things using adjectives with more than three syllables, you have to use more. Okay? Now, I want you to look at this paper here. I want you to look at the first example. Non-smokers usually live longer than smokers. As you see here, this sentence or this structure compares between two people, non-smokers and smokers. And the adjective here is long. Now, how many syllables? You have to ask yourself, how many syllables are in the word long? Just one syllable. So, because long has one syllable, and here you compare between two using than, so you have to add here just er. Why? Here I added er to the adjective long because it contains one syllable, and you compare between two people and smokers. Look at example number 2. My house is big than yours. Now the adjective here is big, and big contains one syllable, so you have to say bigger here. You know that you have to make here double consonant because there's a vowel before the last consonant. Now, so here I added er because I compared between two. Number 2, because these adjectives contain one syllable, big and long. Okay? And don't forget, when you compare between two, you have to use than. Now, look at for example here. This flower is beautiful than that one. Now, here the sentence compared between this flower and that flower using the adjective beautiful. How many syllables are in the word beautiful? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. So because of that, you can't add er to this adjective. So in this case, you have to add more beautiful. Okay? Now, so these are the rules of using regular comparative structure. Okay, now let's move to superlative. When I say superlative, guys, superlative means comparing more than two. When I compare one person to others or one thing to other things. So let's say superlative comparing more than two things, more than two people, more than two animals. In this case, you can use ESC or most. The same rules you have to follow. If the adjective contains one syllable or two, you can add ESC. If the adjective contains three syllables and more, you have to use most when you compare one to group. Okay, like for example, loveliest or most awkward, most firmly, most rapid. Okay, now I want you see this or I want you see this paper here. Who is the rich woman on earth? Now look at this structure here. Here just I used one person, woman. I compared one woman to all persons on earth. I did not compare this woman to other women. No. Here, just I compared this woman to all persons on earth. So in this case, You can't use er, and rich here has one syllable, so you have to say what here? Richest. And don't forget to use the before it. Now, look at this example. He was the smart thief of all. Here I compared this thief to all thieves on earth. So in this case, smart, you have to add est, smart test. Okay, now look, this is the interesting book I have ever read. So as you see, this adjective interesting contains three syllables. Interest. No, I think more than three. Interesting. Interesting. No, three syllables. So in this case, you have to add most. Interesting. Okay. Now let's move to the last one, which is the dangerous animal in the world. Here I compared. I asked a question here. I want to know which animal is the most dangerous in the world. So you can't add esc to the word dangerous because it contains three syllables, dangerous. So you have to say most dangerous. Okay, guys. I will send a worksheet of this topic. So I hope you can answer it. Okay.